Welcome back to the Coffee House Podcast, episode 8. We have an awesome guest here today. I am David. This is
Alyssa, and don't forget to follow us on all of our social media, Facebook and Instagram at the Coffee House SD, at the Coffee House SD, and also subscribe to us on YouTube.
Awesome. So today we have a first-time thing for us, a patient on the podcast, a non-industry member whatsoever. This is a home cultivator. His name is Hunter. #420 on Instagram. You're gonna love this. Let's go. All right, welcome back for episode 8. We are here with a big first-time guest here. We have a patient on the podcast for the first time, and we are here with Hunter. How are you doing, Hunter?
I'm good. I'm Hunter. I come from Mitchell. I'm a South Dakota medical cannabis patient, and just here to say a few things, I guess. I have a little bit of background in cannabis. I have a certificate from Cornell through studying hemp breeding and genetics, and I'm also currently studying through online cannabis education.
Okay. So you grow at home. You're a cannabis
connoisseur. I'm a home cultivator. Yes.
Okay, sounds good. How was the process of getting your medical card?
I went back and forth to the state a couple times over my picture and cultivation documents. Like I had to draw a picture of where I was going to be growing and take a picture of the lock on my door and stuff like that. But ultimately, I got it done within a month or so.
That's not too bad. That's a decent turnaround.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, when I was at the clinic, I would always tell people, just check no for home cultivation. Even if you want to do it, check no right away, because, it can draw out the process, because then you can just add it later. So I'd be like, if you want your card, immediately, just say no, and then, add it later.
You already have your card, you can purchase while you wait for your grow.
Yeah, exactly. And, the process, right, so what is it that you have to do for home cultivation to,
When I did it, and this was a few months ago now, I've had my card for probably 6 months or more, I had to draw a picture of my house and the room I was going to put it in, an arrow designating, this is my lock, my lock designated area. And then I also had to take a picture of the lock on the door, so to prove that it was a secure room.
Makes sense. What does remind everybody at home, the limit on what you can grow at home?
So right now you can have 2 flowering plants and 2 non-flowering plants, and that's it.
That's it. There's no stipulations to how. That's nice.
That's good. Yeah, 2 flowering and 2 non-flowering.
Good.
Awesome. So when you were getting the card to begin with, did you have a hard time finding a provider or finding somebody who would certify you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really difficult until an outreach clinic came to Mitchell, and I went through there and was able to. They really helped out through there, and really it helped me get my card. I wouldn't have been able to have done it without him.
How'd you find out about the outreach clinic?
I hang around the smoke shops and stuff, and that's where it was a local smoke shop at Cloud9 in Mitchell, and just knew it was in there and knew that was something I needed to get done. Right. So I was I was all over that.
Good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It sucks that it's not as available as it should be. I mean, I wish that there was more people out there that have brick and mortar buildings and be like, look, this is what we do. Let's get people in, get people out, get them taken care of, because there are a lot of people out there that don't have access to a doctor to write them certification for their card. So.
Right. Yeah. Right now, I think that there's a lot more outreaches going on, which is really good, and there's more clinics kind of popping up, which is good. But yeah, I'm always kind of curious. I always ask people, how hard was it for you to find somebody? Because I don't know. But
yeah, and then just recently I had a buddy get his card, and we went to one of the clinics here in Sioux Falls, because there was no outreach in Mitchell at the time. But yeah, the clinics are handy too.
Absolutely. I think that there needs to be a nice little mix, because obviously you can't have a set in stone clinic in every single town, but it is nice to have them spread out a decent amount of space, that way people can have access to them when they're traveling, but then obviously to have the outreaches too when people who can't travel, it's just as important, because people need their cards. People that qualify for it obviously need their card.
Yeah, it's usually people with chronic conditions, asking them to drive 2-3 hours to Sioux Falls to get certified. that's kind of asking a lot.
Yeah.
Something I always think about is like my grandma trying to get her card or something like that. You know, obviously I'm able-bodied for the most part, and you know, wheel myself around, get to where I need to be and stuff. But you know, if somebody can't, you know, them outreach clinics are really effective for them.
We need to do telehealth too. That's what it is.
Yeah,
A lot of other states offer it, but
that would help a lot.
It's
For sure.
crazy because South Dakota in the medical side is really advanced in telehealth.
like the #1 state in the country.
Yeah, yeah.
for regular telehealth.
But for marijuana, we have nothing.
Yeah, that's wild.
No
Yeah.
options.
And I think it causes a lot of confusion too, because like Flandreau, you can do telehealth, you know, to get the card, right? So then people get confused. I actually just talked to somebody this week who reached out to me because they made an appointment, but it was for the Flandreau card because he told me telehealth, and I was like, wait. Like, where'd you make this appointment at?
Right.
And he sent me the link, and I was like, no, like, that's not for South Dakota. That's for Flandreau, you know? So then he had to go through this process to cancel, and it was just this whole thing. So I think it causes some confusion there. So, like, the cost of getting the card and all of that, like, I guess, like, I don't really know how much everybody's charging right now, but, like, was it reasonable?
I thought it was halfway decent, especially for them coming to Mitchell and everything. I think it was $175 is what I paid that day, and then the state fee after that was almost $100. I think after they beat me up for cultivation.
Yep. I think it was $20 extra. to
Yeah,
do
another
something.
$20 for that,
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
then on top of it,
reasonable.
$75. And
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable,
Yeah.
honestly. I
So-
wish there'd be more consistent pricing across the state when it comes to it, but
Yeah, like they're kind of all over the place. Like there's quite a range there. So obviously you're a home cultivator, but you know, have you spent time in the dispensaries popping into those?
yeah, I
different
have.
ones?
We do have a local dispensary there in Mitchell. And I do swing in every once in a while and just grab some strains just to try and taste and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm in and out of them, especially when I come here to Sioux Falls. I like to check out, you know, what's different, what's new, and just enjoy being in the dispensaries. They're
I think
cool.
everybody does.
Yeah.
Cool.
As far as like a dispensary experience, though, what would you say? Like, if you could make any improvements on, you know, any products or prices or whatever the case may be when it comes to like in the dispensary experience.
I think the biggest thing is looking at testing results for the cannabis you're buying and stuff like that. Terpene testing in South Dakota is like a brand new thing. They're really only, when you look at buds at the dispensary, usually there's the 3 numbers. There's how much you can buy, you know, weight, there's a percentage of THC, and then there's the price. And that's really all they're worried about, is what it seems like, is those 3 numbers. And there's a lot more to cannabis than that.
For sure, we want more in-depth information out there available for, you know, each product that they have that's in there. Especially now that terpene testing is online, I think it should be a requirement, if anything, for the medical market.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that they should just put all of that on the label. I don't see why they don't. Honestly,
Right.
I really don't see why they wouldn't put it all on the label.
I would want to, if I was. I'm not sure where that is stopping at. You know, I don't want to blame anybody particularly, but I think that it should be mandatory. It shouldn't be any extra either for the cultivators to test for terpenes.
Yeah, it should just be part of the process.
Yeah, get out
Just-
there, especially medical. That's different, like when it comes to recreational, I guess. But when it comes to medical, terpenes are huge, especially to like a knowledgeable cannabis patient. Like they know what they want, they know what's going to help them, and terpenes will help make that selection because it isn't just about the THC.
Absolutely.
which some
Yeah, a
people
lot
think.
of your effects come from terpenes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The entourage effect, building on that profile, you got to be able to know what you're getting before. Well,
Right.
Just 27%, 30%. It should taste like ass.
Yeah,
Do the
yeah.
job.
Like, I didn't even know what terpenes were like a year ago. So I've learned quite a bit through this process. Even now, like, but you know, we're just getting into the terpene like area now, so
And
that's
just wait
exciting.
another 5 years, cannabis will completely change. Probably the way you grow it, the way you use it, the way you. That's the one thing that I like absolutely love. After like obviously all the healing effects, but like just the fluidity of it, how it's always changing, it's always different, and it's like there's not one person that's like, oh yeah, I know it all. I can do this, I can do that, I can grow the best this, and I know everything about it, and you know, like it's always changing,
Right,
especially with the
right.
laws. Once it, I don't think anybody will ever truly know the full potential of it until it's fully studied, like thoroughly.
Probably until the aliens come and help us out. I'm just kidding.
That's funny. But no, I think that's a good idea. I think people should start to put more terpene profiles and everything, more in-depth information on the cannabis
I
when
mean,
it's labeled.
really, I mean, you should really care about what you're smoking, what you're ingesting. I mean,
I agree.
it's the fastest way to put something in your body is to light it up and smoke it. Wouldn't you want to know what's in there,
Yeah.
you know?
No,
Right.
for sure.
And the effects it's going to give you?
Absolutely.
And one thing that I've noticed with like some of the edibles is, you know, the package says, right, that it's like 100 milligrams, right? But then each edible is only like, you know, 0.7 or 7 milligrams or whatever, right? So really you're only getting 70 milligrams of edibles, not 100. So I don't know, like I feel like they should throw in like 3 extra ones or something, you
They
know?
could. Yeah, because the packaging limits go based on the dosage, not the amount of gummies that are in there. You just can't do more than 10 milligrams, and you can't have more than 100 milligrams per package. But you could do 1 milligram, or you know what I'm saying, you could do 100 1 milligram gummies if you really wanted to.
Yeah, divide it however.
I think that's another thing too, is they should dose it differently. Like it shouldn't just be 10 milligrams, 7 milligrams. Like I know there are a lot of people out there that would probably benefit from a smaller dosage, microdosing throughout the day.
And then another of the products that's not on the market is like 1-to-1 ratio edibles of CBD to THC and stuff like that, which have huge medicinal value.
So I was in East River the other day, and they have Crescent Canna, like gummies, and I don't think it's 1-to-1, but it's pretty close. So it was like 12 milligrams of THC and then 6 milligrams of CBD.
Oh, they did have some?
So yeah,
Nice.
I mean they're really good flavor too. It is the hemp derived Delta 9, but it's the same shit in my eyes anyway. But other than that, man, I haven't seen anybody, especially when it comes to like flower. I think that would be good for flower too.
Yeah, they're all high THC strains and very little CBD, if any, in a lot of them.
Yep, and that would be highly beneficial too. I think the guys from Botanicals kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, they did. And you know, like me being like the least educated of all of us, obviously, right? Like I would like to see just a wide variety of everything. You know, like I don't really know that much about the 1-to-1 stuff or any of that really, but like I would definitely try it because like, you know, I believe the experts, you know, and 100%, like I think there should be more variety of like microdosing, right? Like different like quantities, sizes, different things like that available. And right now, yeah, everybody's just focusing on the THC percentage and like 30%, 20%, well, you know, and it's like, why is the price based on THC percentage? You know, like clearly there's like way more things that go into whether or not that strain is good or not. Like it's not just the THC.
Absolutely. And something that him and I were talking a little bit about before, you know, while we were waiting on you. We were saying like what products we'd like to see in the market, like as the market grows. But then I, as rude as I am, before he even like got the chance to say anything, was just like, no, you know what, they need to perfect what they have now before we can even start to get more stuff, because some of the stuff out there is decent, but I want that to be good before you work on the next project. And then, because I don't want, you know, half-assed stuff, especially when it comes to medical.
Yeah, there's a lot of mids out there.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
But I think
That's a
like
really good point.
drinks, good Rick Simpson oil would be huge.
Yeah, Rick Simpson oil was definitely one on my list of products that are completely unavailable to South Dakota patients right now.
Right.
That has huge medicinal value.
I think drinks too, and not even just like the fizzy fruity, like nothing. It could be just raw THC or whatever the ratio you want it to be at, because there are people who can't necessarily chew a solid or inhale smoke or whatever the case may be, and it'll be beneficial to some people for sure.
Are there any tinctures available right now?
No.
I have not seen any on the shelf.
I haven't seen it for a while, but I was gonna say, you know, you could just like drop some of those in your soda, I suppose.
Yeah, I
But
haven't seen any since.
I don't think I've seen any for a while.
No, that needs to come out too, for sure. I think people need to realize the missing potential that's out there and make these products. If they take it seriously, I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you want to capitalize in that market? Everybody's focused on vapes now, vapes and flower.
Yeah, it seems like carts are a huge seller in all the dispensaries I've been to.
Which I get, because of like, people want to be able to just, like if they live in an apartment, puff discreetly, not smell like weed, or whatever the case may be. But there's a plethora of them available now. So let's try to get something else out there for people.
Yeah, they're very convenient, is what they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They are.
I keep mine on me for sure, so I can't complain about them being available. But
Right.
I'd like to have some other options. For
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. Well, I'd like to see like the price of them come down a little bit because they are kind of spendy right now.
Pretty brutal, spendy, yeah, compared to other states. They're
With the amount of malfunctions too. Which okay, it's a beginner's market. I get that.
But they're charging a premium.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
You took the words out of my mouth. I mean, if it's something that's, like a beta test, you're sending it out there and you don't know if you're trying, like trial and error between like what battery you use or what cart you're actually putting it in. If you want to go metal, you want to go ceramic. While you figure that out, customers shouldn't be paying a premium price. I totally agree.
Even with the disposables on the market, I haven't been a huge fan of. And there, the battery and the cart is all, not variables anymore. And they're still, and I get it, everything's new, but.
Yeah. I wouldn't, right away, my first thing wouldn't be try to stick live rosin into a disposable though.
Yeah, a lot. Well, I mean, if you look at other states, they usually run half-gram live rosin carts, and from what I've seen on the market is people are trying to go stick that whole gram in there, and it usually doesn't end well by the second half.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but you also have to remember we live in South Dakota too, and people leave their stuff in their car or whatever else, and it gets rock hard. And so that's a little. Some of those malfunctions are up to the customer for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Because I'm guilty of leaving my pen in my car on a hot summer day. Or
it's game over after that. Yeah,
literally.
That's a good point. I never really thought about that. That's a really good point. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you have to be conscious about where you keep your stuff at for sure.
Everybody listening, if you use cartridges, don't leave them in your car during extreme temperatures because it'll ruin them.
Which is like 10 and a half months out of the year in South Dakota.
Yeah.
Just don't leave them in your
Just
car.
don't do it. Yeah.
No, I'll keep it on you on a temperature.
If you like
control.
that cart, don't leave it in your car.
Seriously, I've lost plenty of, I probably have like 10 or 15 at home that are literally like this much left just because like it got rock hard. I left it in my car and it tastes like ass, or just whatever the case may be, it got clogged or whatever. But
Yeah, I hate it when like you get one and then like you heat it up right and then you like the first puff you get is like a mouthful of wax. It's like, ugh. All right, I'm done putting that down now.
they having me on a disposable that I got. I'm not gonna say where, but
Sucks.
shit puffed right in the mouth.
Yep.
It's
I had one
disgusting.
of those disposables too.
Love it. I was able to
So,
get a refund. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, so, like one thing that like you didn't really tell me about before, like right now, is your certificate, your background in like the hemp stuff. Like I didn't know that was like a thing you could like get a degree in. I guess
It's
Like, can
not
you-
a degree.
or
It's a
like
certificate.
right?
Is
Like an emphasis
yeah.
type thing. But I didn't even really know that was a thing. So can you explain what it is?
So for Cornell, I studied hemp breeding and genetics. So I looked at everything from different alleles to traits, how they cross over, anything from like autoflower, rudolphus genes to like biomass, fiber production, stuff like that, and looked into that and how it all kind of works together. And then online cannabis education kind of touches on everything about it, from the business aspect to the cultivation to the medical aspect. In the U.S. and in Canada, it has information for. So,
If you were to recommend your platform or wherever you're going through, would you mind telling people what you're using for the online cannabis education?
it's OCE. It's literally called online cannabis education. Not trying to gatekeep anything.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But yeah, there's some really good information on
Good.
there.
Because the one I've heard of and I looked into was Oaksterdam for a while.
I looked into that one as well. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Yep. No, I didn't commit to it either, but that was one of the few of the actual like reputable ones that I did see. Online, so.
That I've also seen some things about. I think it's Sativa Institute. I haven't attended or anything, or looked into that at
It's hard to
all.
find
But
time.
I've heard good things about them. But yeah.
Is there a cost, like, to do
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yes, they're very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think it's great that there's, like, you know, actual educational institutes, right, for, like, cannabis and that type of thing, right? Because that, like, legitimizes, like, the industry so much.
To an extent, yeah.
You know, if you can get a degree or a certificate, you know, in, you know, hemp and, you know, cannabis or anything like that, you know, that obviously is, like,
Once it
clearly
goes-
these people are going to dedicate their lives to this, so marijuana isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Once it goes federally legal, maybe they can make, you know, some type of program out of it. That's going to be
Yeah,
actual-
once the federal funding comes, that's really the bottleneck right now
Yeah.
in the education field is federal funding it won't touch any of it.
Right, and I feel like, well, because it's still federally illegal, like, you know, all of the research and stuff, you know, there's none really. I mean, there's some, but there's not as much as there could be if they just descheduled it.
Absolutely.
You know, or like doctors, right? Like, there could easily be doctors who actually specialize in cannabis, right?
Sure.
And it's just silly that that's not a thing yet. I mean, this, like,
It'd be a
when
specialty.
did
in it.
California legalize cannabis? Like early 2000s?
That's a good trivia question.
Quite a while ago. Okay, so I mean, it's been a hot minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would think by now that, you know, the federal government would have just kind of been like, all right, you know, and then open up education, you know, educational institutes to be able to, like, educate on the topic itself.
Yeah, I think it's more fear mongering than anything. Keep it away from people. The more they know about it, the more they know that it should have never been illegal to begin with.
Save
But-
the kids.
Yeah. No, hopefully with that whole thing that it comes back on the ballot and gets the right push, because adult use needs to happen, especially with the qualifying conditions that they have now. The short list, yes, it added PTSD and a couple other things, but
It's very discouraging
yeah,
for people.
absolutely.
Like,
Hopefully that'll change.
yeah, like I mean, people message me all the time, like all the time, just to ask me how to go about getting their card, and they're always like, "Oh, I don't think that I'd be able to do it," you know. And I'm
Right.
like, "Well, pain is, you know, it's pretty broad,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, you know, like, you know, have you had, you know, surgery? Do you have issues with your back? You know, things like that." And like, these are things that, like, they just never really thought about until I kind of like, you know, have you ever, you know, blah, blah, you know, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, actually, like, I have a bad knee or whatever, you know, or something like that, or migraines, like I get really bad migraines and things like that." And it's like, that's pain. That's, you know, that's chronic pain.
Debilitating,
Like,
yeah.
that counts. So I think, like, yeah, that gets a little discouraging for some people. They see, like, the 5 things and like, oh, I'm not going to be able to qualify. And then they just don't even try.
All right. One of the main things, obviously, that we talked about before you even coming on here was the home grow aspect of it. What would you say would be your biggest reasonings to want to, obviously, not only get your medical card, but to do cultivation at home yourself, and not just go to a dispensary every time with your card, and like a lot of other people do?
Right. I don't mind the dispensaries whatsoever. I have nothing against them. I do believe the cleanest meds come out of my tent in the basement. I know what I fed those plants. I know everything that went into it. I know there was no contaminants, nothing. It didn't even leave my house. Like, it's right there. That's good, clean, pure medicine, better than I can get at the dispensary.
Yeah, peace of mind.
Yeah.
Probably be your number one reason. then.
Yeah. And then, I mean, it's a plant. Why can't I be able to produce a medicine that's, honestly, it's not terribly hard to grow. As hard, there's a lot that goes into it, I will say that. But I mean, it's a weed. It grows. It does its thing, you know. It's
Good point.
It does its thing.
it'll probably grow. And to be able to produce that at home just seems like a no-brainer to me, especially with the costs of things on the market for the amount of medicine that I need to stay medicated. It's a no-brainer. I would smoke myself broke if I didn't.
Yeah.
If I was going to the dispensary every day.
And it was only $20 to get it on your card to make it legal. Obviously, there's cost that goes into the equipment and the soil and everything else, depending on how you decide to grow. But
yeah, it's very expensive upfront cost, but once you have the equipment, it's there. Like,
Right.
it
Maintain.
just needs to run its course.
Just maintenance.
Yeah.
So you got anything crazy growing now that you like to shout out so people can follow you on, #Hashhound420?
I just
See what
have
you
some
got.
granddaddy perp going right now. I got some other genetics I've been playing around with. Nothing I really want to talk about yet.
No, that's fine.
Everyone's weird about their genetics and
Yeah.
stuff, but nothing I'm ready to show. Yeah, it's been fun.
Good.
The only thing I do have to say about the home cultivation program is the limiting of the non-flowering plants is silly.
Yeah.
Marijuana is a dioecious species, meaning if you're using regular seeds, you have about a 50-50 chance to get a male or a female. Male plants are great plants for breeding and if you want to produce more seeds, but you cannot smoke male plants. They don't produce THC. They don't have medicinal value, so to speak, that we're looking for. So to only have 2 of them, so if I plant 2 seeds, one of them ends up being a female, just 50-50 if I'm lucky, and then I got to start all over another 3-4 weeks later when I decide, or maybe 6 weeks later when I decide that it's a male and I got to kill it, that I got to replace it. And now I'm 4 to 6 weeks behind again on that cycle, and it just doesn't work. To limit the non-flowering, non-THC producing plants seems silly.
I'd say I can kind of agree with it now that you lay it out like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. That's a very in-depth analysis of it. I think that's something that the state legislature could definitely benefit from hearing.
Yeah, especially because you don't want to, can't take breaks from your medication. I mean, you could, but it would be pretty debilitating depending on what you're treating it for. But yeah, if you go without for a while, that would suck.
And that's if everything in the tent goes perfect. There's
Right.
no pest. There's no this. There's no you didn't go on vacation for 2 weeks and forgot to water it
Right.
or this, that, or the other thing. There's plenty of things that go wrong, but
think
with
4
only
to
2
6
plants to have at a time, it's scary. I mean,
I think 2 to 3 flowering and maybe 6 non-flowering.
I'm fine with having 2 flowering. I really am. I don't have a problem with that side of things. It's the non-flowering plants that is just killing it. It's really hard to keep a growth cycle continuous without a few more than 2.
Right.
What would be an ideal number?
6 would be plenty. 6 to 10, or I mean, they're non-flowering, so it's not like
It's not producing anything. Yeah.
And half of them probably won't produce anything.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, normally you buy a pack of seeds. There's 10 to 12 regular seeds in it, so you got maybe 6 females in there. So you got to you got to plant at least 4 to 6 seeds at a time to make anything to come out with 2 flowering plants at the end of it. It's tough.
Right.
Yeah, that's gotta be
Even
kind
if everything goes perfect.
Yeah.
yeah, that's gotta be kind of frustrating. So.
Yeah.
Now imagine that on a full commercial scale. God, that would be frustrating.
That would be really frustrating.
Trying to plant 1,000 plants and only 500 come up with what you can actually use. Yeah.
This is the first time that we've had kind of an in-depth conversation about home cultivation with a home cultivator. So I think this is really, really enlightening information. Personally, I think it's really interesting, and I think the state legislature could definitely benefit from more of that kind of feedback, right?
Hopefully they listen.
Yeah, we'll send it to you guys.
Right.
And I mean, even if you're not using regular seeds, even if you find a feminized seed that you like and you grow a mom plant and then you pull 1 clone off of it, there's your 2 in veg, and now you got to veg those out, and then you throw 1 into flower or keep your mom plant, or it doesn't add up. It doesn't work.
No, that makes sense. After you lay it out like that, it makes sense for sure. And if I didn't think about it like that until you just laid it out, then they probably haven't had the opportunity to think about it like that either. So it could be eye-opening for sure to hear it from a patient's mouth. We need more patients to come on and talk about their reasonings for home grow or what they want to see in the market and stuff like that, because no change happens. Closed mouths don't get fed. You got to talk about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
People are, they're nervous about talking about it, publicly, which I totally understand, so definitely appreciate you
Right, for
actually
sure.
wanting to come on to the show.
For sure.
Because, yeah, we haven't had a patient or anybody. Like, we've reached out to people, and, you know, it's just, I don't
It's hard
know.
to line up schedules
you
for
know,
people that
and-
are willing to, and then there are other people that are like, well, I have a really good job, and I don't want to risk, you know, getting in trouble by my boss because I talk about my open cannabis use or whatever the case may be. So.
Whatever. I mean, I guess I'm not too scared of it. I got a medical card.
You shouldn't have to
and-
be.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
at the end of the day, you shouldn't have to be, to be honest.
Trying to play by the rules
Yeah.
at least, you know,
Yeah.
doing what I can.
I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
By any means. Freedom of speech. You got a medical card. It's legal through the state. There's
Right.
shouldn't be any problem with it at all.
Yeah, like, people should feel like they're going to be free from persecution for, you know, talking about this publicly.
I think the state being a right to hire state is the biggest thing for jobs security anyway. Because they can just find another reason. They can, like, you're fired for wearing a pink shirt when it's really
Yeah.
smoked weed or smoke weed. Whatever.
And the medical card offers no protection at all, really.
Yeah,
when
I
it
mean,
comes to
especially when it comes to
employment.
this, like if there'd be another, it'd be a thing if they said that, like, if you don't have a job to where you're like operating heavy machinery or whatever the case may be, and like, yeah, we don't want you smoking weed here, and it wasn't a right to hire state, sorry. I always say that, and I don't know, maybe it might be different, but yeah, you're right. There's really no protection because they could just say whatever, and be like, yeah, I don't like the way that you talked to me today, so you're done.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think, like, I've only heard of, yeah, like, heavy, like, you know, warehousing jobs, people who, like, use, like, forklifts and things like that, like, their job's not really allowing it, but other than that, I haven't really heard too much, like, about employers being like, no, you can't do this, you know, like, I always just tell people, ask, like, you know, if you don't know, you know, definitely ask your employer, right, like, if you're that concerned about it, because, like, it is up to their discretion whether or not they're going to allow it.
All right.
So are you from South Dakota originally?
Yeah, I grew up in Mitchell.
In Mitchell? So you're from Mitchell, okay.
Thank you for driving down. I appreciate that for sure. Yeah. It's a jaunt. It's not always the shortest drive through. I drive enough myself.
Always got fucking road construction and stuff
Yeah.
going on.
Especially this time of year,
Yeah.
it's never ending. Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say, Hunter, I greatly appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything else that you want to say to the people before we wrap this thing up?
I think we covered about everything on my list.
Cool. You have anything, Miss Alyssa?
No, I mean, I appreciate talking to, like, another person who's from South Dakota, but you're more comfortable talking about marijuana than I am still, which is kind of funny. But it's awesome that, like, you're educating yourself and all of that. This is fantastic.
For sure. Well, check them out. #Hound420 on Instagram. Thank you. Coffee House, episode 8. Have a great day.
Bye.